What if the heaviness you're feeling right now isn't just yours to carry? In the last episode, we talked about performance culture, the pressure to keep going, to keep up, to keep pushing, and how that pressure isn't really coming from you. But even when you step away from that, something can still feel heavy, a low energy, a weight you can't quite explain, and it's easy to think something's wrong with me. Why can't I shift this? Why do I feel stuck here? Why does everything feel harder right now? But what if this isn't just personal? What if you're feeling something bigger? Keep listening.
Welcome to the Inner Magic Academy podcast. If you're loving our videos, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks and enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to the Inner Magic Academy podcast. I'm your host, Peter Magic. So, if the last few episodes have resonated, this one's going to feel even deeper because this is where we move from understanding pressure to understanding what you're picking up from the world around you. And if you're someone who's listening to this and you're someone who's curious and wants to understand this on a more deeper level, you're someone who is deeply connected and deeply aware of things that are far more deeper than just what you see in front of your eyes, right? So you have this connection to energy that goes far beyond this world, which also means that you notice a lot of patterns, a lot of cycles, a lot of things that are coming up through familiar environments, through others. You notice these things playing out when there's a lot more heightened energy on the planet, right? There's a lot more solar that's hitting the planet. You notice and you're connecting the dots because you're not only feeling the emotional weight, this then also affects you on a mental level. This also affects you symptomatically in your body. So you're noticing all these things that are, moving through your system, that are moving through you. And you notice then what's being mirrored on the outside through those environments, through others. You notice what other people are not picking up, which also means that you are also struggling even more with your nervous system, right? Because your nervous system's picking this up. It's very intelligent, and it can feel like you struggle not only, with regulation, but then you struggle to feel more at ease in your body, right? So your nervous system's always heightened and picking so much up. And that also means on a mental level, you're also affected a lot more on that. So you are feeling the weight, right? So you're picking that up, and it's like almost impossible for you to disconnect from that unless you're somewhere out in nature and away from the artificial nature of, living in a city or being around a lot of people, right? A large population that can affect you even more. It's easy when you're out in nature. It's easy when you have a lot more space and you feel more at ease, right? When you're in these places. But you're someone who is deeply aware and deeply sensitive to and picking so much more up, which means you are also someone who's struggling the most right here, right now on the planet, because what is playing out right now on the planet, there's a lot more conflict. There's a lot more going on that is coming up through those environments, through others. It's coming up through a lot of behaviors, a lot of the emotional weight is coming up, and it's being mirrored on the outside. So a lot of this also is then affecting your ability to function, to stay regulated, to feel more at peace and more at ease. And no matter where you are out there, you can feel the weight of that, right? And it's affecting you on all levels, emotionally, mentally, and symptomatically in your body. There's so much that's going on that you're picking up. And so what I want to do for this episode is I want to connect the dots for you and explain to you exactly why you experience the world in this way. And we're going to get more deeper into this now. Okay, so this is what I want to start to normalize through this podcast and share a deeper perspective on reality for someone who experiences the world as a deep feeler, who's both autistic and ADHD. So if we're going to put a label on it, I'm all DHD, right? And so I'm affected so much more by the density of this world and the toxicity and suppression of all the emotional weight, or all the things that people are carrying through, generations and generations and generations of suppression. And all of this stuff doesn't just go away. This whole planet is carrying the density of that, and everyone who's not processing and moving through that and having that deeper awareness to connect with that, they're not holding the space to move that through so we can transmute that, bring that back to light, right? And what I'm saying here is to raise the frequency of what this, the current frequency of this collective, the planet is collectively holding right now, right? So there are some people that don't just experience their own emotions, they experience everything: the energy in a room, the mood of people around them, the unspoken tension. And when you're around heaviness, you feel it too, right? So this is just summing up what so many people really struggle to understand in this world. And I've been so invalidated time and time and time again over the years. And now I've come to the point where I'm able to find the words, because I've connected all those dots and understood this is how I'm wired and this is how I'm experiencing this world. It's not something is wrong with me. There are many people on this planet who struggle like me, who struggle to function some days, who struggle to keep going, because we're expected to continue to show up day in, day out as if nothing is affecting us energetically. But look how much suppression, how much people are masking, how much people on the inside are not processing and moving through their own stresses, their own things that are coming up, who are not then having an outlet to express that, to let that out, to get in the flow. All of the weight of this that we're carrying through generations, we carry the blueprint of that from generation to generation. And we've got to the point now on the planet where our emotional world's been completely neglected. Look how many people are just struggling day in, day out. They're expected to produce, to perform, to keep going. And there's all these things out there to keep us numbing, avoiding, distracting, to keep our awareness on the outside. And we continue to absorb and take all that on. And for people who are here on the planet, who are deeply connected, who are those deep feelers, right? Who are really picking up the density of this planet, how heavy the planet is right now, right? They are the ones that are trying to clean up the density that we have on the planet. They're the ones that are transmuting through all the heaviness that's around them. Things that people are not processing and moving through and have not, it's because it's not being normalized. What's being normalized on the planet is for us just to continue to churning day in, day out. Most people are just working. Most people are just in survival. Most people are putting their energy and their focus on everything on the outside, and they're completely neglecting their internal states, right? Internal environment. They're completely numb to or disconnected from that. And I'm going to tell you right here, right now, as someone who experiences the world as I do, I'm picking all of this up. So I live in a city in Sydney, here in Australia, and I'm feeling the heaviness of everything around me. And it's very easy for me. It's very easy for me to continue to project everything that I'm feeling from the inside and the outside, to continue to, not process my own stuff and move through that and take accountability for all of that. But a lot of what I'm picking up isn't even mine. And it's very difficult because when you mirror the truth on the outside, which a lot of autistic kids, they're mirroring what's out of alignment on the planet in this world. What you mirror on the outside, a lot of that is not acknowledged, is not looked upon. It's looked upon as if they're the problem, as if there's something that needs to be fixed within that child. But I'm going to tell you right here, right now, it's because of the density of this planet. It's because of what's been normalized. It's because of what has been suppressed from generation to generation to generation. We carry this energetic blueprint in our nervous system, way it's wired, the way our brains have adapted, right? We're carrying a load of that, and it's in our cells. This comes out through the toxicity, through the toxins. So when you're moving through, you're transmuting that, all your emotional environment, all the things that have been suppressed. When you start to move through that and you release and let it go, it comes out through toxins in your body. This is the process that we need to do to actually heal the planet. We all need to process through our own internal environment, which means we need to get back in touch and, get back in connection with that so we can process and move through that. Because a lot of those fears and those insecurities, a lot of the resistance is why we don't hold the space and allow our own souls to move that energy through us. Because when we're disconnected from that, we don't have the space, right? Look how big space is. We don't have the space to process and move through that and then release and let it go. Let that energy go, release the toxins out of our body and feel more lighter. We go through that transformation and feel more lighter, feel more regulated, and feel like we can then, project our energy from a more conscious, regulated state rather than dysregulated, which is coming from a place of survival, coming from a place of suppression, masking, and holding ourselves back and feeling disconnected from more of what's underneath that. So this is why someone who experiences the world in this way right now is struggling the most with mental health, is struggling the most to feel more at peace and more at ease in their body, in their nervous system. And a lot of the time, they're going to feel like there's something wrong with them, or, they're going to feel disabled in this world. So it's very easy for us to look at ourselves as if we're disabled, because we are disabled in the world we're in, because, everything is out of alignment and everything that bit has been suppressed and normalized. We're feeling the weight of all of that. And so something needs, in order for the things to change in the planet, in order for the frequency to raise in the planet, right? Something needs to process and move through that. So there are people that are put on the planet that experience the world in this way, have this deeper awareness and connection to energy, because they're here as a transmuter to move through that heaviness, but they can't do it all alone. People need to understand reality on a far more deeper level through energy, to understand that this is what we really need to understand as human beings on the planet. First and foremost, that everything's connected. We're all connected subconsciously, right? We're all souls having a human experience, and we're all carrying the weight of generations and generations of not only trauma, suppressed emotions, a lot of the things that we've suppressed, it doesn't go away. And so this world continues to carry the weight of that. So something needs to transmute that. And the solar activity, right, that's hitting the planet is here to create that change. Like, this is soul, right? Your soul is waking you up to and trying to get you to start to process and move through that and shift that perspective on how you see yourself, and know that everything in this world's connected. So we need to understand that the weight of what we're moving through, it's not it's not for us to carry alone. We all need to take accountability and process through the weight of everything that we're feeling in the world. So that means we need to have more deeper compassion, empathy for other human beings in what they're experiencing, right, and moving through in the world. So the reason we, feeling the heaviness of everything is because just look where people have been pushed to the breaking point on the planet right now. Cost of living is absolutely ridiculous. Most people do not have the luxury, to even feel like, people are just struggling to exist on the planet right now. So if you're someone who's deeply connected, you struggle to even exist right now on the planet. And so I just want to acknowledge, as someone who is also, ADHD, deeply connected to energy and feeling the weight of everything, you know, you're not alone in this. And I just want to normalize this to other people in the world so they start to take notice. I'm sharing this through someone who experiences the world and has struggled most of their life with regulation, struggled their most of their life with mental health, struggled most of their life to feel more at peace and regulated in their own system, in my own, feeling more comfortable in my own skin. I've only known survival, right? So it's important that I continue to share this perspective and normalize that there are so many people in this world that are experiencing this but can't find the words. They struggle to find the words to articulate everything that they're experiencing because it's extremely overwhelming. So many autistic children out there struggle to communicate that on the outside. So this is why I'm just sharing this deeper perspective so people can start to understand. And that's what we need to do, is we need to start to normalize this, and so people can start to understand this on a more deeper level. Okay, so this is not rocket science. This is just making sense of and piecing the pieces of a puzzle together as to why people struggle with seasonal depression and that collective energy around them. So when you have less sunlight, less movement, less routine, all of this impacts your system. But there's another layer, the collective emotional state around you, because when the environment feels heavy, it reinforces that feeling within you. So, as someone who's only known to feel a lot of the time emotions that aren't pleasant, emotions that don't feel good, you know, I'm used to feeling all of that because I'm constantly picking up the density and the heaviness of everything around me. And the reason why I've struggled with that is because I thought that there was something wrong with me. I thought that I was the problem. But let's simplify this. Without sunlight, without absorbing light, taking that light into your body, or absorbing that, just like the plants and environment absorbs that, right? You need sunlight. And when you take on sunlight, you feel better, right? When you have more sun. When that sun is taken away from you and you have a lot more cloudy days, a lot more days where it doesn't, it affects the mood of most people on the planet. It's not a coincidence. Also, on top of that, when you have less movement, when you're not moving your body physically and connecting with your body physically, when you're not processing and moving through your mental states, your emotional states, all of these things. And when you don't have a routine, when you don't have something that keeps you in a routine, that keeps you moving and keeps you, going, and something that's positive, something that positively influences your everyday life. All of this is going to impact how you're going to feel. It's going to impact your mental, your emotional states. This is not rocket science. This is just explaining. And so seasonal depression, a lot of people struggle with this, in the months where there's less sunlight, where it's, where it's not as warm. A lot of people struggle with that seasonal depression, and they're also picking up the collective energy around them. So when most people feel that, and again, a lot of people feel it, but they don't make it obvious on the outside as someone who's more deeply connected to energy and everything around them, right? So someone who's autistic, for example, and they're mirroring what's out of alignment, or they're mirroring all of that that's coming up, they're going to look miserable. They're going to look extremely uncomfortable. They're going to look like, you know, they're just mirroring what's out of alignment. They're mirroring what other people are suppressing and not showing on the outside, because they can't pretend. They struggle to pretend. They struggle to, their nervous system can only take so much. So they're feeling the heaviness of everything around them, and they only know most of the time how it is to feel dysregulated, how it is to feel the weight of everything, feel overwhelmed, or feel completely disconnected, because your survival brain, your nervous system is going to do everything to try and protect you. It's very intelligent. So there are times when you're going to feel completely shut down. There are times when you're going to feel overwhelmed, and it's going to overflow. It's going to spill over, and it's going to come out for an autistic meltdown. And for example, for a shutdown, when you're feeling extremely low and overwhelmed, you're going to feel more disconnected because there's so much there that just drains your energy constantly. It's siphoning your energy, and you feel completely depleted, lacking life force energy. And so you're going to feel that heaviness and the seasonal depression. It's going to feel like it's not going to be a positive experience internally, what you're experiencing. And then it's going to be extremely difficult for you on the outside to pretend. It's very hard for you to pretend on the outside, to wear a mask, to wear a fake smile, to pretend that everything's okay, because you're feeling the weight of everything, right? This is what it's been for most of my life. And I know that it's not something to fix within me. It's not a problem. It's just I'm someone who's now deeply aware of how I experience this world, and know that I'm not the identity of that. And so this is where the loops can begin. So you can feel low, so you do less, and you do less, so you feel worse. And when your environment reflects that back, it keeps you there, not because you're broken, but because you're deeply connected. So again, when your body and your nervous system's used to this familiar stasis, familiar feelings, what do you think's going to happen in your brain? It's going to loop, right? And it's not going to be a positive experience in your mind, in your thoughts, in what you're experiencing. And when you feel very low in energy, you struggle to find the energy to do more, right? So when you're asked in this world to continue to produce, to continue to perform, to continue to keep up to this expectation, right? We're all expected to keep up to that same expectation. But when you're someone who experiences the world in this way, right? Who's someone who's or DHD, or just autistic specifically, right? Experiencing being a deep feeler, and you're picking so much more up around you, it also means that you're going to struggle the most to function, right? And what's asked of you on the outside, all you know how to do is survive, and you do everything that you can to keep going. But there are days where it's even a struggle to get out of bed and to keep going, and to stay regular, and to keep doing those same routines. Even if they're a positive influence in your life, there are times when it's hard to even continue to do that. And so what happens when you do that? You feel even worse. I've experienced this over the years where, I would stop working for a long period, and leave my job. And I had the luxury of doing that, living at home, right? But then I would feel even worse. I'd go into a deep, deep, deep depression. And I had many times where, I could have got to the point where I could have taken my own life away, right? It got that bad. I got that bad in those looping states. And it was very difficult to want to just be here and exist on the planet and to keep going, right? And I'm going to tell you right here, right now, over the past 6 months and where I am in feeling the heaviness of where I am right now, is probably some of the most heaviest I've experienced. But the reason why I'm able to show up and do this is because I've shifted my perspective on an actual identity point of view. So this is the reframe. Feeling heaviness isn't the problem. Absorbing it as your identity is. You're not here to carry everything. You're here to move through it, to feel without becoming it. So that is easier said than done, right? Because when you're mostly only used to feeling the heaviness and not feeling those positive emotions, and your whole experience from how you're feeling to how, things are looping in your own brain, it's very, very difficult to shift out of the identity of that if, you're experiencing it, you're going through it. So it's valid in everything that you're experiencing through that. The only way that I've been able to create the space to actually process and move through that, and sort of like, instead of being someone who carries the weight of all of that and feels like I'm completely stuck in that, the only way that I've actually been able to shift out of the identity of experiencing that is knowing and understanding that I'm a soul having a human experience, which means right here, right now, the person that I am is only a fragment of my soul's mind, right? Higher consciousness. So the only way I've been able to move through a lot of the heaviness, and actually, I've experienced going through and moving through a lot of this heavy stuff and processing through a lot of suppressed emotions. I've noticed in my body all of the changes, not only on a physical level, all of the things that have been coming out through the toxins in my body, all of this has been released through my cells. So the changes that I'm going through, I'm noticing not only in my body, again, the way my perspective has shifted, the way, my brain doesn't continue to stay stuck. I experience those things that come up, but then I learn to shift my energy, right? And think of where that energy is coming from. Higher level of consciousness. So I create the space, right, through my energy to shift and process through and transmute that. And that shifts the heaviness. It's like you're not escaping the heaviness. You're processing and you're moving through the heaviness, but you are not it. You are not the heaviness. And I'm well aware right now on the planet, we are going through a massive, massive, massive shift. And so what's coming up on the outside is a lot more toxicity, is generations and generations and generations of suppression. And it's coming up, that collective shadow and the densities coming up on the outside, right? For us to process and to move through. And our souls are doing this. They're helping us move through this, right? Think of it. Solar light hitting the planet. Your soul is coming through that light, is helping you wake up to become aware of things that are far deeper. And as they rise to the surface, you are transmuting that in real time. And this is, look, I'm trying to simplify this as much as I can so people can understand that this is all part of the change that we need to go through in order to raise the frequency on the planet. And so we need to shift that perspective from that identity point of view that you're not what you are in, what you're experiencing right now. Because as someone who's deeply connected as you are, being that deep feeler, right? You are part of this change on the planet, but you can't do it all alone. It's not all of yours to carry, and you're not the identity of that. And so it's about you knowing and understanding you're not alone in this, that we are all here to move through this. And yeah, some of us, some of us have a lot more of the load to carry, right? Because we're more deeply connected and we have more, spiritual gifts, deeper, these gifts that, yes, it's very difficult on a very dense planet, very toxic planet that's out of alignment. There's a lot more that we're having to process and move through. But you're not the density, you're not the heaviness of all of that. And so you need to understand and trust in your soul and trust again, trust in God, trust in that higher consciousness, trust source, trust where that your energy is coming from, that there is a plan and this is all part of it. This is all part of, to bring more awareness as to what's been suppressed on the planet and know that it's all part of it. So what on the outside, what doesn't look positive, what is coming out for a lot of toxicity is part of what needs to happen for this change to take place. And when you shift that perspective, I'm telling you right here, right now, it doesn't make it easy for you to move through that, but you know that you are not the identity of all of that, because when you stay stuck in that limitation of seeing yourself in all of that, it's almost impossible for you to continue to keep going on this planet, because you don't hold that space for your soul to do the work to actually help you to move through this. And that's where you need to shift that perspective. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing through this podcast, because I'm doing my best to normalize this is what it's really like. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It's not an easy journey. It's not an easy process, but your soul won't give you what you're not ready for. And the planet's not going to stop in the ascension of where things are going, right? We are shifting frequencies in the planet, and the planet's trying to go through this process, but we all need to do that work and be the change makers here on the planet. We need to do that. And so we need to mirror the truth from a more authentic place, a place that feels more in alignment, and share that on the outside, and stop suppressing that and normalize in how we're experiencing the world, because we give a voice to so many people who struggle to find theirs. And that's so, so important in the times we're in right now.
If you're liking this episode, you'll love our free masterclass, Unmask Your Relationships. Unmask Your Relationships is for anyone who craves deeper, more fulfilling relationships, especially if you're a highly sensitive person or people pleaser. In this training, you'll discover what's holding you back and learn how to actually break free from people pleasing and validation seeking. Understand why you attract certain people and situations into your life, and start to identify and transform the parts of you that hide behind your ego's mask. And this training is absolutely free. So watch it now by going to innermagicacademy.com/unmask.
Okay, so this is where the question becomes, how do you stay open without becoming overwhelmed? How do you feel deeply without getting stuck? And this is where regulation comes in. Movement, expression, awareness, letting things move through you instead of staying in you. So, this is just summarizing all the things that I've just saying there, is like, we can stay stuck in a lot of the states and feelings we're experiencing because it's familiar, right? And those familiar environments will continue to bring up the same patterns, the same cycles. There's a familiar resonance there that plays on your thoughts and your emotions and everything that's connected within that, right? So it's very important to have movements, very important to express how you're truly feeling. at the level of where your awareness is at, to express that, to have an outlet. Because when you have an outlet to let that out, that's when you start to move through those layers of density, right? And you need to hold the space to process and to move through that density in order to peel those layers of conditioning back, in order to transmute, those feelings, right? Because you need to go through that density. You can't just bypass that. There's a process that you need to go to feel the heaviness of whatever that is, without labeling it, without judging it, right? And when you do that, when you let your energy and your own heart to expand to and to meet everything that's underneath, that's been suppressed, and you have movement, right? Express that out, process through that. Don't allow your brain to continue to loop and loop, because that's all it's going to do. It's there for survival. It's going to try and loop and bypass all of that, right? Distract and look for anything outside. Your energy and your awareness and your own heart, it's the transmuter. It's what allows you to shift the frequencies, right? It's what allows you to move through those layers and layers and layers, to unpeel them. And as you expand more and more, you create the space of movement and then flow. And you have outlets, healthy outlets, to express that. Get in the flow, move your body. All these things are helpful. All these things are creating the space you need to be able to process and move through what continues to come up through those environments, through others. And when you continue to do this, no matter what you're experiencing and feeling and the heaviness of that, it's all part of learning to regulate, to self-regulate, to move through that. And no, it's not, and have a deeper awareness. No, it's not always what is coming up for you. It's what you're picking up around the environment. But the more you go down this, through this process, the more you actually learn to decipher and understand, and be aware of what that is. And when you expand more and more to that, and you have a deeper awareness, then now you understand that, oh, now I have the space. Now I can see that from a higher level of consciousness. And so I'm not stuck in the loop of, where my awareness is and where my brain's keeping me, right? I'm not attached to that anymore. I see it from the higher level of consciousness. I know and understand I'm not the heaviness of what's coming up and what I'm processing and moving through. And so now you're letting things move through you instead of staying in you. You're no longer holding on to that. And you're allowing your soul, right? You're allowing your soul to hold that space, to transmute all of that, and release and let it go. We're coming to the end of today's episode, and I just wanted to remind you, if you've been feeling heavy, low, or stuck, you're not broken, you're not too much, you're someone who feels deeply. And when you start to understand that, you stop trying to escape it and you start learning how to move with it. And in the next episode, we're going to go even deeper, because for many people, this sensitivity has always been there. You just didn't have the language for it. Until next time, this is the Inner Magic Academy podcast, and I'm really glad you're here.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. If you enjoyed it, we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to our channel and give us a like or even a comment. It really does help so much in getting our work out there to the people who need it. We're so grateful for you being here, and we'll see you for the next episode.